He kōna ipurangi tēnei nā te reo irirangi o Aotearoa.
Migrants already speak other languages fluently, and yet more of them are taking Te Reo Māori language classes when they get here. On Voices this week, we hear from two of them about their own reo journey. Regular podcast listeners would have heard an earlier Te Reo episode in light of the UN declaring 2019 the Year of Indigenous Languages.
Miriam
Arif moved here 2 decades ago from the Middle East. Once here, English quickly became her family's dominant language until she took a Te Reo class 2 years ago. As we chat, she drops in different reo words like tautoko or support and manaakitanga or hospitality. At first, Miriam took Te Reo classes to feel more at home, but instead it's changed her life.
We didn't know there was this parallel world that tangata whenua get to enjoy. So as immigrants, we just learnt what the mainstream was. And it was just being a good New Zealander. And then we discovered that we weren't very much being very good New Zealanders because there was this other whole entire world that we just didn't tap into.
Samuel Nelapati left India to come here in 1997. He'd grown up already fluent in 4 languages. Now, with Te Reo, he speaks 5.
Language is very close to my heart. Personally, I believe language is the heart to communicate to one-to-one. Language is a culture for me.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Sarawai Telatu ahau. Nau mai, whakarongo mai ki te hōtaka o ngā reo o tēnei wiki.
Kia ora te whānau, ko Arafa te maunga, ko Rafidane te awa, ko Emirates te waka. My name is Miriam. I whakapapa back to a mountain called Arafa, a river called Rafidane. My waka is the Emirates. My tribe is El Jumaili. My family name is Arif. We actually came from the Middle East about 22 years ago now, I think. And we grew up here in New Zealand, and it was only about 2 years ago that I was introduced to Te Ao Māori, the Māori world, and I haven't looked back since.
Miriam is an Iraqi immigrant, a devout Muslim, and now in her late 20s, she's a mother of 2. She's also the second eldest of 6 siblings. Her mum is from Syria and her dad is from Iraq. She arrived here with her parents when she was just 6 years old.
So we moved from Abu Dhabi, which is right next door to Dubai. Very bustly, very busy. You could say, yeah, just like Auckland is today. That's the best way I can describe it. But back in 1996-ish, when we came, Auckland was what we considered a ghost town because it was so quiet. People used to walk around barefooted, like that was so common. We became like that too. We would go barefooted. But that was out of the question in the Middle East, like, you don't do that, you know? So little things like that. I remember mince pies was one of the main things. It was just incredible. I still love mince pies, by the way. Everything was just so humble, like just everyone was so chill.
She commutes to her city job as a police communicator from her home in West Auckland, but in future her dream job would use more Te Reo.
I loved how I could go into the class and all I would hear is Te Reo Māori. And then when you remove yourself from that environment, you go back into the real world, it's really hard. You don't hear it anymore. So I always thought my ideal job would be somewhere where that's all I hear.
Miriam's first exposure to Māoritanga was when she lived in the Waikato. The region is at the heart of the Kingitanga movement. The iwi tribe is Tainui and the current Māori king is Tūheitia Paki.
We were raised in the North Shore in Auckland, and then I got married, briefly moved to Auckland Central, and then we moved to Hamilton. And that's where I was introduced to Māoritanga. It was the fact that because Hamilton's in the Waikato, and the Waikato is the home of the Kingitanga movement, so it's actually quite alive and well there. And the kids, yeah, they just went to school there, and I just remember them coming home with lots of kupu Māori, like Māori words from school. You know, I was so ignorant that, like, I would go to school and my son would say, oh, hey, it's Matua Sean or something. And then 2 days later he'd say, hey, that's Matua Sam. And I'm like, I thought Matua was a name, and I thought, how many Matuas is there in the school? Like, you know, that's how ignorant I was. And then they're like, no, Matua is a Māori word for uncle or teacher, you know, like mister.
A lot of Māori cultures and protocols actually made sense to her.
It was quite parallel, but actually just seeing the reasoning behind certain things that happen in New Zealand and just seeing why they do the things that they do and say the things that they say, I think was a real eye-opener too, because, so for example, why is the whenua so important? For us Arabs, yes, we do value our position in the world and we do respect all of the beings, but we don't necessarily connect ourselves to any particular land or mountain, but then learning the reasons why they do that, because of this is where their tupuna come from, and they physically have that connection to the land, you know. They even have a whakatauki that goes, e hoki ki tau maunga, kia puria ai koe, e ngā hau a tāwhiri mātia. So when you're feeling really low, you're feeling just spiritually a bit down, they actually tell you to physically go back to your mountain so that you're cleansed by the winds of tāwhiri mātia and just get that wairua up again to the level that makes you able to cope with life.
Miriam likes to talk to her kids in Te Reo as well as Arabic. She'd encourage other migrants to do the same with their own cultural languages.
Having said that, though, we're still quite connected to our Arab heritage. We still keep it really, it's quite alive and well in our homes. Although we integrated really well in New Zealand and it's definitely home, we still have best of both worlds.
Language is the key to culture and identity, and Miriam's wish is for more Kiwis to feel the same.
Yeah, same. So whatever is applicable to mine, honestly, is applicable to any culture, really, is that there's much more beneath the surface. And although obviously this is a form of media too, I think people need to pick and choose what they actually believe and what they actually want to take on board, because a lot of the time the media will only show you a certain side of a story. So it's really cool that we get the opportunity to have interviews like this where we show a little bit of a different side, but I think people just need to give people a chance.
She also knew people who died on that Black Friday, the 15th of March 2019. After the Christchurch terror attack, she found solace in both her Muslim faith and tikanga Māori.
At this point in time, I just want to send out our aroha and prayers to all of New Zealand. We're in this together. Ka nui tēnā, it's enough. We need aroha.
Kia ora tātou katoa, nā mai hara mai ki roto nā akumana o mātua Samuel. My name is Samuel Rajunelapati. I'm from India. My mountain is Pupalagutta. I come from Warangal in Telangana state of India. I speak English, Telugu, Tamil, Hindi and Maori.
Samuel is one of 9 siblings back in India. But in 1997, he decided to leave the Indian state of Telangana and migrate to New Zealand with his wife Teresa for a fresh start and better life for his family. He left after meeting up with Kiwi missionaries Patricia and David, who told him to come here. First impressions? Aotearoa is really small. Samuel follows the Christian faith, and here he's experienced the concept of whāngai or adoption. He has many Māori friends who he calls family here, so he's keen to learn a lot more te reo.
For me, Maori language is so good to me because it feels like my home, because it's very close to my language, Telugu. So rolling the tongue and speaking the words, which is very easy and similar to me. And not only that, the culture is very, very similar to my culture, especially the karakia, the waiata, kapahaka, ki manakitanga, kaitiakitanga. These all aspects of Maori is close to my culture.
Samuel also speaks te reo most days, teaching maths and science at a kura kaupapa school in Mangere, South Auckland. Students call him mātua. So did Samuel's kids follow in his footsteps?
When you're outside the world of Maori, you judge a lot. When you are inside the Maori, you know them a lot. If anybody talks negative about Maori, my heart and my blood boils.
He reckons anyone can learn te reo or a language that's not their own if they put time and effort into it. So did Sam's kids follow in his footsteps?
My son went to Kohanaria, my daughter went to school, but my daughter now, she works for the Maori and Pacifica Health Clinics. Yeah, she is that, and my son, he is more into Maori, and whenever we go there, they'll ask my son to do haka, and my son does the haka for them.
Is he good?
He's very good in haka. Yeah,
How about you?
Oh, I'm an old man, but I still do it.
Like Miriam, he sees cultural similarities too.
Our culture is very similar to Maori culture. The whole concept of my culture revolves around the whānau, the family. Family is very important. Kuya and the koro, that is the grandmother and grandfather, are very important for us. So the family is full of celebrations, festivals and birthdays and marriage days or death or whatever it is, it's a celebration for us.
And Samuel loves being able to speak Māori every day.
Because it's such a sweet language, and it brings all the people of New Zealand together one. Because a language breaks, language builds. So when there is no language, it breaks. When there is language, it builds. So for me, I could connect to them, my students, with a little bit of free of what I know. And it's a great reward. There is no, segregation of Maori and non-Maori. When the language we all learn, because it's a national language. If we all speak that language, how pleasant and beautiful for this country will be. It will be more prosperous and more fruitful.
Samuel hopes more Kiwis will make more of an effort to learn te reo. In the future, Miriam and Sam intend to keep learning New Zealand's Indigenous language, and in doing so, they've even inspired others to learn too. Both also keep their own cultural tongues alive here, and Samuel adds, if he and Miriam can do it, then anyone can.